Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main window. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. The communication panel was blinking red, which meant an important message was waiting. Jake had been putting off reading it for the past hour because he knew it was going to be bad news. "Captain," said Lucy Martinez from her station near the back of the bridge, "Admiral Chen is requesting an immediate video call. She says it's urgent." Jake sighed and put down his coffee cup. Lucy was young, maybe 25, with dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She had been working communications for 3 years and was good at her job. When she said something was urgent, it usually was. "Put her through to the main screen," Jake said. He straightened his uniform and tried to look more awake than he felt. The screen flickered and Admiral Lisa Chen appeared. She looked tired, older than her 50 years, with worry lines around her eyes that Jake had never seen before. Behind her, Jake could see the busy command center of Earth's main space station. People were moving around quickly and everyone looked stressed. "Jake," Admiral Chen said without any greeting, "I need you to sit down for this." "I'm fine standing," Jake replied, but something in her voice made him nervous. "What's going on, Lisa?" Admiral Chen looked directly at him through the screen. "The Galactic Council has made their decision about Earth. They're calling us a Class X Deathworld. As of today, all human ships are ordered to return home immediately. We're being quarantined." The bridge went completely silent. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Danny Walsh, his chief engineer, dropped the tool he was holding. It clattered on the metal floor, the only sound in the room. "What does that mean exactly?" Jake asked, though he was pretty sure he already knew. "It means no human is allowed to leave Earth's solar system. No trade, no travel, no communication with other planets. They're cutting us off completely." Dr. Amanda Foster looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms, a tall woman with red hair and sharp green eyes. "On what grounds?" she asked. "What's their official reason?" Admiral Chen's face got even more serious. "They say humans are too dangerous for civilized space, too aggressive, too willing to adapt, and too ready to eat things that shouldn't be eaten." Jake almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. "They're quarantining us because we're good at survival." The final straw was apparently Pete Rodriguez on the Venus colony. He figured out how to cook and eat a Venusian acid slug without dying. The council found out about it and decided we were too unpredictable to be allowed near other species. Danny Walsh stood up from where he had been checking some equipment. He was a big man with calloused hands and a practical mind. "So they're scared because Pete made a decent meal out of something that was trying to kill him?" "That's exactly what they're scared of," Admiral Chen confirmed. "According to their records, humans have successfully eaten dangerous creatures from 17 different worlds in the past 5 years. They think we're going to start hunting their sacred animals or something." Dr. Foster shook her head. "This is ridiculous. We've never hunted anything that wasn't already trying to eat us first, and we've always shared our discoveries with the scientific community. Try telling that to the council," Admiral Chen said. "They've made up their minds. An official representative will be contacting you shortly to explain the details. But the basic message is simple. Come home and stay home." The communication screen went dark, leaving the bridge crew staring at a blank wall. For a long moment, nobody said anything. Jake could hear the quiet hum of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of various machines. "Captain," Lucy said quietly, "we're getting another incoming message. It's from someone called Ambassador Zexai." "Put it through," Jake said. The screen lit up again, but this time it showed something that definitely wasn't human. Ambassador Zexai looked like a walking crystal formation, with sharp edges and surfaces that caught the light in strange ways. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Greetings, humans of the vessel New Horizon," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Zexai of the Galactic Council. I am here to officially inform you of the new restrictions placed upon your species." "We already heard," Jake said. "Admiral Chen filled us in." "Then you understand the situation. Your species has proven too dangerous for normal galactic society. You consume creatures that kill other species. You adapt to environments that destroy other civilizations. You turn deadly situations into opportunities for growth. Dr. Foster stepped forward. And that's bad because it makes you unpredictable, dangerous. The Council has decided that Earth must be treated as a Class X death world, and all humans must remain within your solar system until further notice. Jake felt anger building in his chest. So you're punishing us for being good at staying alive? We are protecting the galaxy from a species that treats mortal danger as a minor inconvenience, Ambassador Zexahai replied. Your recent consumption of a Venusian acid slug proves that humans will eat anything, regardless of the risk to yourselves or others. Pete Rodriguez didn't hurt anyone, Danny Walsh said. He just figured out a way to make something toxic into something edible. That's called problem-solving where we come from. That is called reckless endangerment where we come from, the ambassador replied. The decision is final. You will return to Earth and remain there. The communication ended, leaving the bridge crew alone with their thoughts. Jake walked over to the navigation station and looked at their current course. They were 3 weeks away from home, carrying supplies and scientific samples from 6 different worlds. Well, he said finally, I guess we're going home. This is insane, Dr. Foster said. They're treating us like criminals because we're good at adaptation. Lucy looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm getting messages from other human ships. Everyone's being ordered home. Some of the captains are talking about ignoring the order. That would be a bad idea, Jake said. The Council has ships that could turn us into space dust without breaking a sweat. We're going home. Danny Walsh was looking at a tablet, scrolling through information. You know what's funny about this, he said. Look at our cargo manifest. We've got samples from creatures that the Council considers deadly, but we've already figured out how to process most of them safely. Jake walked over and looked at the tablet. Danny was right. Their cargo hold was full of biological samples that other species considered impossibly dangerous. But the human research teams had already found ways to make them useful. The European ice worms that freeze other species solid. We've got a whole container of them, and Maria Santos back on Earth already figured out how to make them into a pretty decent stew, Danny continued. The fire flowers from Proxima b that burn everything they touch? We've got those too, and they make excellent spice when you process them, right? Dr. Foster started to smile. They think they're punishing us by cutting us off from the galaxy. But, maybe, Jake said, understanding what she was thinking. They're actually doing us a favor. Lucy turned around in her chair. How do you figure that? Think about it, Jake explained. They're scared of us because we turn dangerous things into useful things. They're keeping us away from their precious civilized space because they think we're too wild, too unpredictable. So? Danny asked. So maybe it's time to show them just how unpredictable we can be. Jake walked back to his captain's chair and sat down. For the first time since receiving the bad news, he was starting to feel better. If the Galactic Council wanted to treat Earth like a dangerous place full of dangerous people, then maybe it was time to live up to that reputation. Set course for home, he told Lucy, and send a message to Earth. Tell them we're coming back with some very interesting ingredients. The New Horizon turned toward Earth, carrying its crew and cargo toward a future that none of them could have imagined. Behind them, the stars of the galaxy continued to shine, unaware that they had just made a very big mistake. 6 months had passed since the quarantine began, and Earth looked completely different. What used to be a collection of struggling colonies and overcrowded cities had become something nobody expected. The entire planet had turned into one giant cooking laboratory. Carlos Rivera stood in his new kitchen facility in Neo, Singapore, watching steam rise from a large pot. The kitchen was massive, with gleaming metal surfaces and equipment that looked more like a science lab than a place to prepare food. Carlos was a short man with thick black hair and hands that moved quickly and precisely. He had been a chef for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Kelly, bring me that container of Martian fire serpent meat," he called to a woman working at a station across the kitchen. Kelly Brooks walked over carrying a sealed container. She was tall and lean, with short blonde hair and scars on her arms from years of military service. She had learned to cook in survival situations where the wrong meal could kill you. Now she was learning to cook things that could kill you just by touching them. "This batch smells different," Kelly said, setting the container down carefully. "I think the ones from the northern regions of Mars have a stronger flavor." "Good," Carlos said, opening the container with special tools. "Dr. Clark, what do the tests say about toxicity levels?" Dr. Ryan Clark looked up from his computer screen. He was a thin man with glasses and nervous hands who used to work for a pharmaceutical company. Now he spent his days making sure their experiments wouldn't kill anyone who ate them. "The heat treatment neutralizes 98% of the dangerous compounds," he said. "The remaining 2% actually improves the taste. It's like natural seasoning." Carlos smiled. This was exactly what he had hoped to hear. The Martian. Fire Serpent had been classified by the Galactic Council as an extinction-level threat. Other species wouldn't even land on the southern continent of Mars because these creatures lived there. But humans had figured out that with the right preparation, they made an excellent main course. "How many courses are we up to now?" Kelly asked. 7 full courses, all using creatures the Council said would kill us," Carlos replied. "The Jupiter cloud jellyfish makes beautiful soup. The Europa iceworms are perfect for cold appetizers. And the Venusian acid slugs that started this whole mess? They're actually great for dessert if you process them right." Across the kitchen, a communication panel started beeping. Carlos walked over and activated it. Captain Morrison's face appeared on the screen. "Carlos, how's the cooking project going?" Jake asked. "Better than we hoped," Carlos replied. "We've successfully prepared full meals using only creatures that the Council considers deadly. And Jake, they taste amazing." "That's what I was hoping to hear. Lucy and I have been working on something. Show him, Lucy." Lucy Martinez appeared next to Jake on the screen. She was holding a tablet and looked excited. "We've been sending out what we call research reports," she explained. "But they're not really research reports. They're menus." "What do you mean?" Kelly asked, walking over to listen. "We've been broadcasting scientific-sounding messages about our food experiments," Jake said. "Stuff like, Research Log 847, successfully neutralized hostile European iceworms through thermal processing. Subjects, exhibited complex flavor profiles with notes of seafood and winter spices." Carlos started laughing. "You're advertising our restaurant to the galaxy." "Exactly," Lucy said. "And it's working. We're getting responses. Lots of them." Dr. Clark looked worried. "What kind of responses?" "The illegal kind," Jake admitted. "Black market food dealers are offering huge amounts of money for authentic Deathworld cuisine. Pirates are planning smuggling runs to Earth's solar system. And we're getting private messages from aliens asking how much we'd charge for dinner reservations." Carlos felt a thrill of excitement. This was working even better than he had hoped. "There's more," Lucy continued. "We're not the only ones doing this. Cooking projects have started all over Earth. Tony Adams in the agricultural sector has been breeding hybrid crops using seeds from 12 different worlds. His vegetables grow in toxic soil that would kill normal plants, but they taste incredible. And Dr. Helen Wright down at the Ocean Research Facility has figured out how to raise alien sea creatures in Earth's modified oceans," Jake added. "She's got a whole underwater farm going." Carlos walked over to a window and looked out at Neo Singapore. The city had changed completely in just 6 months. Where there used to be office buildings, now there were kitchens and food processing plants. Where there used to be shopping centers, now there were experimental gardens growing alien plants. The entire human race had found a new purpose. "Carlos," Kelly called from across the kitchen. "Come look at this." She was standing next to a large cooking station where something was bubbling in a clear container. The liquid inside was a beautiful purple color and seemed to glow with its own light. "What is it?" Carlos asked. "Nebula flower extract," Kelly replied. "Maria Santos up in the orbital station sent it down. She's been working with flowers that grow in the gas clouds around Jupiter. Most species can't even get close to them because of the radiation, but Maria figured out how to harvest them safely." Carlos looked at the glowing liquid. "What does it do?" "It makes the most beautiful dessert you've ever seen," Kelly said. "And according to Dr. Clark's tests, it's completely safe for human consumption. But it would probably kill any other species that tried to eat it." Dr. Clark nodded. The radiation that makes it dangerous to other species actually breaks down into harmless compounds in human digestive systems. We're literally the only species in the galaxy that can eat these safely. Carlos thought about this. The Galactic Council had quarantined humans because they thought Earth was too dangerous, but what they had really created was the galaxy's first exclusive restaurant that only humans could operate. Jake, Carlos said, turning back to the communication screen. How many aliens do you think would pay serious money to eat food that no other species in the galaxy can prepare? Jake smiled. All of them. Over the next few hours, Carlos and his team worked on preparing their most ambitious meal yet. 7 courses, each one made from creatures or plants that the Galactic Council considered deadly. The appetizer was made from processed European ice worms that created a cold, refreshing dish with a flavor like nothing found on Earth. The soup course used Jupiter cloud jellyfish that had been carefully prepared to remove their electrical charge, while keeping their unique taste. The main course was Martian fire serpent, cooked using techniques that Kelly had developed during her military survival training. The meat was tender and had a spicy flavor that warmed you from the inside. The side dishes included vegetables that Tony Adams had created by combining earth plants with alien genetics. For dessert, they served processed Venusian acid slugs that had been transformed into something that looked like ice cream, but tasted like exotic fruit. The final course was a drink made from Maria Santos's nebula flowers that glowed softly and made you feel relaxed and happy. When they finished preparing everything, Carlos looked at the meal they had created. It was beautiful, it smelled amazing, and according to Dr. Clark's tests, it was completely safe for humans to eat. But for any other species in the galaxy, it would be instant death. You know what this means? Kelly said, looking at the completed meal. What? Carlos asked. We've just created the galaxy's most exclusive restaurant, the only place in the universe where you can get food that's literally impossible to get anywhere else. Carlos smiled. The Galactic Council had tried to punish humans by cutting them off from civilized space. But instead, they had given them the perfect business opportunity. Lucy, Carlos said to the communication screen, start taking reservations. I think we're about to become very popular. Outside the kitchen windows, the lights of Neo Singapore stretched to the horizon. Across the planet, millions of humans were working on similar projects, turning Earth's quarantine into the galaxy's greatest opportunity. The Galactic Council had made Earth into a death world, but humans were making it into something much more interesting. They were making it into the universe's first impossible restaurant. Bobby Martinez wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the kitchen one more time. His restaurant on Europa Station was small, just 8 tables, but it was packed every night. Bobby had escaped Earth 3 days before the quarantine began, and now he was the only human chef operating outside the solar system. The kitchen was cramped and he had to be careful with every ingredient. He couldn't get real Deathworld food from Earth, so he had to make do with approximations using ingredients he could buy from alien traders. It wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to drive his customers crazy with desire for the real thing. Bobby, called Zara, his only waitress. She was a blue-skinned alien from the Centauri system who had taken the job because she was curious about human food. Table 6 wants to know if you can make the fire serpent dish spicier. Bobby laughed. Tell them this is as close as I can get without the real Martian fire serpent. If they want spicier, they'll have to go to Earth. That's what they're afraid of, Zara replied. They keep asking if it's true that humans eat things that would kill them. It's true, Bobby said, adding seasoning to a pan. But we're very good at not dying from it. The restaurant's communication panel started beeping. Bobby activated it and saw the face of his old friend Gary White, who was still on Earth. Bobby, you need to see this, Gary said excitedly. Earth just had its first Deathworld Food Festival. What's a Deathworld Food Festival? Bobby asked. 3 days of pure cooking madness, Gary replied. Sandy Cooper organized the whole thing. Chefs from all over the planet showed up with their best dishes. Carlos Rivera brought his famous 7-course meal. I brought my Void Beast barbecue. Maria Santos came down from the orbital station with those glowing nebula flower pastries. Bobby felt a pang of homesickness. How many people came? That's the crazy part, Gary said. It wasn't just humans. We had illegal broadcasts going out across the galaxy. Aliens were watching from hundreds of different worlds. The viewer numbers were higher than the population of most solar systems. Bobby stopped cooking and stared at the screen. They were watching a human cooking show? They were watching the most exclusive cooking show in the galaxy, Gary corrected. Food that literally no other species can make or eat safely. We had aliens offering millions of credits just for recipes. Zara walked back into the kitchen. Bobby, Table 3 wants to talk to you. They say they represent someone important. Bobby looked at Gary on the screen. I have to go. Send me the festival recordings when you can. Bobby walked out to Table 3, where two aliens in expensive clothes were sitting. One looked like a walking tree with golden bark, and the other was covered in silver scales that reflected the restaurant's lights. You are the human chef? The tree-like alien asked. I am, Bobby replied. We represent certain individuals who are very interested in your food, the scaled alien said quietly. They would like to place a large order. What kind of order? Bobby asked. The tree alien leaned forward. Our employers want to experience authentic Deathworld cuisine, not approximations like you serve here, but the real food from Earth. They are willing to pay very well. Bobby felt his heart start beating faster. These aliens were talking about smuggling, which was illegal and dangerous, but the money they were hinting at could set him up for life. I can't get real Earth food, Bobby said carefully. The quarantine makes it impossible. We have ways, the scaled alien said. Fast ships, experienced pilots, routes that avoid council patrols. The question is whether you can arrange supply from Earth. Bobby thought about it. He knew people on Earth who might be willing to take risks for the right price. Carlos Rivera, Gary White, Maria Santos. They were all creative people who might be interested in reaching a galactic market. Give me a few days, Bobby said finally. That night, after the restaurant closed, Bobby sent encrypted messages to his friends on Earth. Within hours, he had responses from a dozen chefs who were interested in his proposal. Earth's food scene had exploded since the quarantine, and everyone wanted to share their creations with the galaxy. 3 weeks later, Bobby received his first shipment from Earth. The smuggling ship was small and fast, piloted by an alien trader, who asked no questions as long as he got paid. The cargo hold contained specially sealed containers of real Deathworld cuisine. Bobby opened the first container and almost cried. Inside was a perfect portion of Carlos Rivera's Martian fire serpent, properly prepared and sealed for transport. The second container held Gary White's Void Beast barbecue, which filled the kitchen with an incredible smell. The third container contained Maria Santos's famous glowing nebula flower pastries, which still glowed softly even after their long journey. That evening, Bobby served his first authentic Deathworld meal to paying customers. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Aliens who had never experienced such flavors sat in stunned silence, unable to speak. Others started crying with joy. One customer, a dignified ambassador from the Rigel system, actually got down on his knees and begged Bobby to tell him where he could get more. Word spread quickly through the underground networks that connected the galaxy's wealthy and adventurous. Within a month, Bobby had opened 3 more restaurants on different stations. Each one was packed every night with aliens willing to pay enormous sums for a taste of forbidden human cuisine. The Galactic Council tried to shut down the restaurants, but new ones opened faster than they could close them. Smugglers developed better routes and faster ships. Human chefs on Earth started producing food specifically for the black market, with Sandy Cooper organizing regular shipments disguised as scientific supplies. Dr. Amanda Foster, now working as Earth's unofficial ambassador to the Underground Food Network, sent Bobby regular updates on the situation. The council is getting desperate, she told him during a secure communication. They're trying to classify Deathworld cuisine as a controlled substance, but that's only making it more popular. We've got aliens staging protests on their home, worlds demanding an end to the quarantine. What kind of protests? Bobby asked. The kind with signs that say free the food and we want Deathworld dining, Amanda replied. There are organized boycotts of council-approved restaurants. Some planets are threatening to leave the council entirely if they don't get access to human cuisine, Bobby laughed. So we're accidentally starting a revolution? The biggest food revolution in galactic history, Amanda confirmed. And it's all because the council tried to keep us isolated. The revolution reached its peak when news broke that several council members had been caught with illegal Earth food in their personal quarters. The scandal rocked the galactic government and made headlines across hundreds of worlds. Ambassador HFY, the same crystal being who had announced Earth's quarantine, was found with a complete 7-course Deathworld meal in his private residence. When questioned by reporters, he claimed it was evidence for ongoing threat assessment, but nobody believed him. Captain Jake Morrison, monitoring the situation from Earth, sent Bobby a message that made him laugh out loud. "Bobby, you're not going to believe this. Ambassador HFY just sent us a private communication asking about dinner reservations. The same alien who quarantined us wants to book a table at Carlos's restaurant." Bobby looked around his bustling restaurant on Europa Station. Every table was full of aliens enjoying food that their own government had declared too dangerous to exist. In the kitchen, his alien staff worked alongside human cooks who had emigrated illegally just to be part of the food revolution. The Galactic Council had tried to isolate humanity by calling Earth a death world. Instead, they had created the galaxy's most desired destination. Every alien who tasted human cuisine became an advocate for ending the quarantine. Every smuggled meal was a vote against the Council's authority. Bobby smiled as he watched his customers enjoying their forbidden feast. The Council had made a simple mistake. They had assumed that calling something dangerous would make people avoid it. But they had forgotten one important fact about intelligent beings everywhere in the galaxy. Everyone loves forbidden fruit, especially when it tastes this good. The inspection ship arrived at Earth on a Tuesday morning, gleaming silver against the black of space. Captain Jake Morrison watched it dock with the orbital station from his position on the bridge of the New Horizon. The ship was massive, 3 times larger than any human vessel, and it carried the official seal of the Galactic Council. "They're not here for a friendly visit," Danny Walsh said, checking the readings on his engineering console. "That ship has enough firepower to level a city," Jake nodded. The official message had said the Council was sending an inspection team to assess ongoing threat levels on Earth, but Jake knew better. They were here to steal everything humans had learned about cooking dangerous alien creatures. "Lucy, get me a secure line to Carlos Rivera," Jake said. A few minutes later, Carlos appeared on the communication screen. Behind him, Jake could see the busy kitchen of the Neo Singapore facility, where dozens of chefs were working on new recipes. "Jake, I assume you've seen our visitors?" Carlos asked. "Hard to miss them," Jake replied. "How ready are we for this?" Carlos smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "We've been preparing for this moment for months. The Council thinks they can just walk in and take what we've built. They're about to learn why that's a bad idea." The inspection team arrived on Earth 6 hours later. They were led by Enforcement Officer Crystal, a massive alien that looked like an armored insect with too many arms. The team included scientists, soldiers, and what appeared to be kidnapping specialists. Crystal's first stop was Carlos's kitchen facility. Jake and Dr. Amanda Foster accompanied the inspection team as official Earth representatives, but they both knew this was really a raid disguised as a diplomatic visit. "This facility will be shut down immediately," Crystal announced as soon as they entered the kitchen. "All research materials will be confiscated and key personnel will be taken into Council custody for questioning." Carlos walked out of the kitchen wearing his best chef's uniform and a calm smile. "Welcome to Earth," he said politely. "I hope you've worked up an appetite during your long journey." "You will come with us," Crystal said, pointing at Carlos with one of his many arms. "Your illegal food experiments end today." "Actually," Carlos said, "they're just beginning. But first, let me offer you some hospitality. It would be rude to let guests leave without trying our local cuisine." Before Crystal could respond, Kelly Brooks emerged from the kitchen carrying a large tray. She set it down on a nearby table, revealing what looked like a normal meal, but smelled absolutely incredible. "This is our welcome platter," Carlos explained. "A small sampling of Earth's finest dishes. Please sit and enjoy." Dr. Foster stepped forward. "As Earth's official host, I must insist. Galactic law requires that diplomatic visitors be offered food before any official business begins." Crixtal looked annoyed, but he couldn't argue with galactic law. Reluctantly, the inspection team sat down at the large table Carlos had prepared. The meal was perfect. Carlos had spent months planning this exact moment. Each dish contained mild compounds from Earth fungi that would make the aliens calm and agreeable without harming them. The flavors were incredible, unlike anything the inspection team had ever experienced. Within minutes, the inspection team was eating with obvious pleasure. Crixtal, who had arrived ready for a fight, was now quietly enjoying what might have been the best meal of his life. "This is remarkable," said one of the council scientists, a bird-like creature with colorful feathers. "The flavor combinations are unlike anything in our databases." "How do you achieve such complexity?" asked another team member. Carlos smiled. "Trade secrets, but I'd be happy to explain while you eat." For the next hour, Carlos gave a cooking demonstration that was really a carefully planned information warfare operation. While the inspection team sat in a happy, food-induced daze, he explained exactly how humans had turned the galaxy's most dangerous creatures into delicious cuisine. "The key," Carlos said, "is understanding that danger and flavor often come from the same chemical compounds. Remove the danger, keep the flavor, and you have something no other species can create." The inspection team nodded along, completely absorbed in the explanation. They were so relaxed that they didn't notice when Jake slipped out to coordinate the next phase of the plan. While the inspection team was distracted, Captain Morrison launched Earth's biggest smuggling operation yet. Dozens of fast ships loaded, with Earth cuisine launched from hidden facilities around the planet. Each ship was heading to a different part of the galaxy, carrying enough authentic Deathworld food to supply the black market for months. The operation was coordinated by an alliance that nobody could have predicted 6 months earlier. Bobby Martinez provided distribution networks from his restaurant empire. Sandy Cooper handled logistics from her base on Earth. Alien food critics like Vex Hoon the Tasteless wrote glowing reviews that were broadcast across the galaxy. Even some council members were secretly supporting the operation. The addiction to Earth cuisine had spread through the highest levels of galactic government, and officials who publicly supported the quarantine were privately arranging for illegal shipments. Danny Walsh monitored the smuggling fleet from his engineering station. "Jake, we've got 30 ships in the air and more launching every hour. The council patrol ships can't stop them all." "How many are getting through?" Jake asked. "About 90%, Danny replied with satisfaction. "The aliens want this food so badly that they're actively helping us avoid their own patrols." Back in the kitchen, Carlos was finishing his demonstration. The inspection team was now completely relaxed, discussing the artistic merits of flavor combinations instead of threatening to arrest anyone. "The fascinating thing," Carlos was explaining, "is that each species experiences our food differently. What tastes like comfort food to humans might taste like adventure to a Rigelian, or like home to a Centauri." Crixtal nodded thoughtfully. "This explains the widespread demand for your cuisine. You have accidentally created the galaxy's first truly universal comfort food." Dr. Foster stepped forward with a tablet full of scientific data. "Our research shows that several alien species have developed what can only be described as a beneficial dependency on compounds found exclusively in Earth-prepared foods. It's not harmful addiction, it's more like nutritional supplementation." "What do you mean?" asked the bird-like scientist. "We mean," Amanda explained, "that eating Earth cuisine actually improves the health and mood of most galactic species. The compounds we use to neutralize toxins have positive effects on alien biochemistry." This was the moment Carlos had been building toward. While the inspection team sat in their food-induced happiness discussing the science of flavor, the real operation was taking place across the galaxy. Earth's smuggling fleet was delivering fresh cuisine to black market dealers on hundreds of worlds. Alien protesters were demanding an end to the quarantine. Several council member worlds were threatening to withdraw from the galactic government if they didn't get legal access to human food. The revolution reached its peak when news broke across the galaxy that the inspection team itself had been caught enjoying an illegal Earth meal. Video footage of Krixtal praising Carlos's cooking was broadcast on every major news network. Public opinion shifted dramatically overnight. The same council that had declared humans too dangerous for civilized space was now being accused of hypocrisy and corruption. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds, with aliens carrying signs that read, "Free the food" and "End the Deathworld quarantine." Jake received reports from across the galaxy. The council's authority was crumbling as more and more worlds demanded access to Earth cuisine. Some planets were talking about leaving the galactic government entirely and establishing direct trade relationships with Earth. "Carlos," Jake said, walking back into the kitchen where the inspection team was still enjoying their meal. "I think our guests have had enough time to appreciate our hospitality." Carlos nodded. "Officer Krixtal, I hope you've enjoyed your visit to our humble planet." Krixtal looked up from his empty plate with what might have been embarrassment. "This meal was educational." "I'm glad you think so," Carlos replied. "Because Earth has a proposition for the Galactic Council. A way to end this quarantine that benefits everyone." "What kind of proposition?" Krixtal asked. Carlos smiled. "A cooking competition, Earth versus the galaxy's finest chefs. If we win, the quarantine ends, and Earth becomes an official member of the galactic community. If we lose, we accept permanent isolation." The inspection team looked at each other uncertainly. They had come to Earth expecting to arrest criminals and confiscate dangerous materials. Instead, they had experienced the best meal of their lives and were being offered a peaceful solution to the crisis. "I will convey your proposal to the council," Krixtal said finally. As the inspection team prepared to leave, Jake knew they had won a major victory. Earth's food revolution had become too big to stop, and the galaxy was finally ready to admit that maybe humans weren't so dangerous after all. They were just very, very good at making impossible things delicious. The space station hung in neutral territory between Earth and the Galactic Council headquarters, a massive structure built specifically for the cooking competition that would decide humanity's fate. Carlos Rivera stood at the observation window of his temporary quarters, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Some carried judges, others brought spectators, and a few carried ingredients that Carlos hoped he would never have to cook. "Nervous?" asked Kelly Brooks, joining him at the window. "Terrified," Carlos admitted. "We're cooking for judges from every major civilization in the galaxy. One mistake and Earth stays quarantined forever." Kelly smiled. "Good thing you don't make mistakes in the kitchen." The competition rules were simple but challenging. Earth's team would prepare a 7-course meal using ingredients chosen by the Galactic Council. The judges would include representatives from every species in the galactic government. If the meal satisfied a majority of judges, Earth would join the galactic community as an equal member. If it failed, humans would accept permanent isolation. Captain Jake Morrison entered the quarters carrying a tablet with the ingredient list. "Carlos, you need to see this. The council isn't making this easy for us." Carlos took the tablet and read through the list. His eyes widened. "They want us to cook with void stalkers. Those things exist in 4 dimensions. Most species can't even see them properly." "It gets worse," Jake said. "Solar flare crystals from the heart of dying stars. Quantum fish that exist in multiple realities at once. And for dessert, they want us to use time fruit that ripens backwards through history." Dr. Amanda Foster walked in carrying her own tablet. "I've been analyzing the ingredients. Half of them are theoretical. The other half are so dangerous that touching them wrong could destroy this entire space station." Carlos sat down heavily in a chair. "They're not trying to test our cooking skills. They're trying to kill us." "Actually," said Dr. Ryan Clark, emerging from his portable laboratory, "I think they're trying to prove that humans really are too dangerous for civilized space. If we can successfully prepare a meal from these ingredients, it will confirm every fear they have about us." Kelly looked at the ingredient list again. So if we succeed, we prove we're dangerous. If we fail, we prove we're not good enough. Either way, they think they win. Not if we're smarter than they are, Carlos said, standing up with new determination. They've given us ingredients that no other species would dare to touch, but that's exactly why we're going to win this competition. The cooking arena was enormous, with viewing galleries that could hold thousands of spectators. Carlos looked up at the judges' table, where representatives from dozens of species sat waiting. Ambassador HFY was there, the same crystal being, who had announced Earth's quarantine a year ago. Next to him sat Judge Vorthak, a blob-like creature from the Galactic Council's Enforcement Division. Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings of all species, announced the competition moderator. Today we witness a historic cooking competition. The team from Earth will attempt to create a meal using ingredients that have never been successfully prepared by any known species. Carlos looked at his team. Kelly Brooks was ready with her military precision. Dr. Clark had his safety equipment prepared. Danny Walsh was standing by with engineering equipment that probably violated several galactic treaties. Dr. Foster was ready with scientific analysis of everything they were about to cook. Let's show them what humans can do, Carlos said. The first course required cooking with void stalkers, creatures that existed partially outside normal space. Kelly had figured out how to trap them using modified magnetic fields, while Dr. Clark neutralized their reality warping properties with carefully controlled energy bursts. The result was an appetizer that seemed to shift and change as you looked at it, with a flavor that was somehow both familiar and completely alien. The judges tasted the first course in silence. Carlos watched their faces, looking for any sign of approval or disgust. Judge Vorthak's blob-like form rippled in what might have been surprise. Ambassador HFY's crystal surface reflected light in patterns that Carlos had learned meant confusion. For the second course, Carlos worked with solar flare crystals that burned at temperatures hot enough to melt most metals. Danny had rigged a containment system using technology borrowed from fusion reactors. The crystals were gradually cooled and processed into a soup that glowed with their own internal fire. When served, it warmed the judges from the inside while filling the arena with beautiful light. The third course used quantum fish that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. Dr. Foster had developed a method for cooking them in all realities at once, creating a dish that tasted different to each judge, depending on which reality they were experiencing most strongly. The bird-like judge from the Rigel system started crying after tasting it, apparently experiencing a flavor that reminded him of his lost homeworld. By the fourth course, Carlos could see that something unexpected was happening in the judges' gallery. Instead of looking disgusted or afraid, the judges were leaning forward with interest. They were asking questions about preparation methods and requesting second tastes. The fifth course required Carlos to work with plants that grew in the hearts of black holes where gravity was so strong that time moved differently. Kelly had developed a technique for harvesting them using remotely controlled drones, while Dr. Clark figured out how to process them without creating a gravitational anomaly. The resulting salad course seemed to bend light around itself and had a taste that was somehow both ancient and timeless. For the sixth course, Carlos prepared meat from creatures that lived in the space between galaxies, feeding on cosmic radiation and dark matter. The preparation required equipment that Danny had built specifically for this competition, combining human engineering with alien technology in ways that probably shouldn't have worked. The main course was rich and complex, with flavors that seemed to tell the story of the universe itself. The final course was the most challenging. Time fruit ripened backwards through history, becoming more complex as it aged into the past. Dr. Foster had figured out how to reverse the temporal flow around the fruit, allowing Carlos to prepare it at the exact moment when it reached perfect ripeness billions of years ago. The dessert was served in temporal stasis fields, each bite containing the flavor of a different era in galactic history. When the meal was complete, the arena fell silent. Carlos looked up at the judges' table, where beings from across the galaxy sat in stunned amazement. Some were weeping, others sat in meditative silence. A few were frantically taking notes. Judge Vorthak stood up slowly. In all my years of galactic service, I have never experienced anything like this meal. The flavors were impossible, the techniques were beyond our understanding, and the result was beautiful. Ambassador Zexhai's crystal form chimed softly. This meal has taught us something important about the human species. You do not simply survive in dangerous environments. You transform danger into beauty, threat into nourishment, chaos into art. One by one, the judges stood and cast their votes. The final count was unanimous. Every single judge voted to end Earth's quarantine and welcome humanity into the galactic community. But this raises a new question, said Judge Vorthak. If humans can successfully prepare cuisine from ingredients this dangerous, what else might they be capable of? Carlos smiled. We're capable of teaching others to do the same thing. That's what humans do best. We learn, we adapt, and then we share what we've learned. 6 months later, Earth had become the galaxy's premier destination for adventure dining. The Galactic Culinary Academy was established in orbit around Earth, with Carlos as its first director. Students came from hundreds of worlds to learn human cooking techniques. Captain Morrison was appointed as Earth's first galactic ambassador, while Dr. Foster became the director of interspecies food safety research. Kelly Brooks opened a chain of survival cooking schools, teaching other species how to turn dangerous situations into dinner opportunities. The restaurant industry exploded across the galaxy as other species tried to create their own versions of Earth cuisine. Most failed, but a few succeeded in developing their own unique approaches to impossible cooking. Bobby Martinez returned to Earth as a hero, bringing with him dozens of alien chefs who wanted to study human techniques. His illegal restaurant empire became the foundation for legitimate interspecies dining establishments throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council officially apologized for the quarantine and established new protocols for evaluating species based on their contributions rather than their perceived dangers. Earth's transformation from isolated Deathworld to Galactic Cultural Center became a model for how fear could be turned into opportunity. Carlos stood in his new office at the Galactic Culinary Academy looking out at the Earth below. Ships from dozens of worlds were arriving daily, bringing students, tourists, and ingredients from the farthest reaches of space. You know what the best part is? Kelly said, joining him at the window. What's that? Carlos asked. We're just getting started. The galaxy is full of ingredients that nobody has figured out how to cook yet. We've got thousands of years of impossible meals ahead of us.